Morning, councillors, and welcome to the Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 15th of August. I declare the meeting open at 9 a.m. and I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of land on which we meet and their elders past, present and emerging. We'll get stuck into our attendances and leave of absence. I've received a leave of absence from Councillor Laurie Karansky. Would someone like to move that she be given one? Thank you, Mayor Power. Can someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Russell. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll get stuck into the declarations of conflicts of interest. Do councillors have any conflicts of interest they'd like to declare on any of the reports today? No? Excellent. Before we do item 5.1, I'll just ask Stephen Ball, as the Development Assessments Manager, if he has any general business for us, because he doesn't have any reports today.
Through the chair, no I don't.
Councillors, do you have any general business for Stephen? No, thank you very much. You can go back to the cheap seats and watch everybody else do the heavy lifting today, mate. So we'll move into item 5.1, which is the proposed Logan Plan 2025 endorsement for state interest review. I believe that none other than Christian Parks is going to speak to this one, unless Dave wants to have a chop first. I'll hand over to you, Christian. I know you haven't been working on this for very long, so you're probably not across the detail.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, councillors. Big milestone today. We have a draft planning scheme, about 1,000 pages, attached as a background paper to this report. So 2 years after a decision was made to prepare a new planning scheme, we have the first draft ready for the state to check. The draft is based on a review of the existing planning scheme, as well as the key policy matters which have been discussed through a series of councillor workshops. The draft's also been written with the benefit of both internal and external experts. Several branches from across council have contributed, and we've had also had lawyers do a check of the final draft before presenting it today. That said, we know the scheme is not perfect and it still has a long way to go. The state will review the planning scheme and they will request changes of us. Public consultation will also occur next year, and there'll be changes that come out of the public consultation phase. We'll send the scheme back to the state after that, and they'll most likely request further changes. So the scheme's a long way from finalised, but the decision today is for us to take the next step, I should say, to give it to the state, and that's really important because that's the step that's going to allow us to get it on consultation next year and get the feedback from your communities, from the industry, and help us knock it into shape before we hopefully commence in around November 2025. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Christian. Love all the work that you and the team have been doing on this. I've got questions from Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Mr. Chair. So this is the document that you guys have been working on. That's the width of it, that's the breadth of it. And I want to say thank you very much to your team. It hasn't been an easy process. We each have ideas that we want for our community, and I know in mine the high density, having it corralled into one area along the public transport line was really important to me, and you guys made that happen. Having that high density with multiple stories to keep it out of residential was really important to my community, and you made that happen. There have been various questions along the way, and I've appreciated your patience in working through things. I know it hasn't been easy, and it can be quite difficult when it comes to getting my own way. But you've actually worked with me on that, and both you and Sharon have done a great job of this, and Dave to a lesser extent. Sorry, Dave. But the reality is that you've actually put our community first, and I very much appreciate it. There's some things that I don't like about this scheme, but I will be voting for it when it comes to a vote because I appreciate the work that's gone into it. I know that flood modelling has been part of it, so Megan in the background, thank you very much, Megan. This impacts a lot of people, and the future of our city is really important to all of us, so thanks very much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Any further questions from councillors? Mayor Power and then Councillor Bradley.
It's not a question. Obviously, this is a significant document that's held these councillors to a lot of work. We've had, I don't know how many workshops now over the years, but in recent times, significant amount of effort has been put in by the councillors. And obviously, a lot of the issues have been raised and addressed. And what I can say is that I will be obviously voting for this because I believe in it, but also it addresses the significant issues that have arisen since the start of this plan is obviously the housing crisis. And we introduce a different type of housing in this planning scheme, which I hope will be picked up because, as you know, one of the significant areas is housing density. That's an area that we find compelling because many residents reject it. At the same time, we realise that we can't afford to address the infrastructure on urban sprawl, and we need to unfortunately address that. What we have done, because we realise that units are not that favourable because you have to pay body corporate, and people don't like that style of living because it's not that individual feel. We are introducing terrace housing, which is something that was brought up and I witnessed in South Australia as another option of housing which individualises so that each property has their own property. They don't have to pay body corporate, but it intensifies obviously the housing situation because there are a lot of people that are living by themselves or maybe elderly couples that want to stay in the private housing market. They don't want to go to a retirement village. And we have to accommodate for that type of housing now because more and more people are living alone. So hopefully that will be picked up by developers. I know it's being introduced in certain areas, not all areas, but it is obviously an option for further investment later on, because I think that developers need to recognise the market. And when I say that is that why aren't units that successful in Logan? I think you'll find one of the reasons is that the majority of people are fairly young. We've got an average age of 34 and they're not looking at units, but also the marketability and also body corporate. Hopefully this addresses that shortfall of having an individual property, no body corporate, but obviously intensifies housing so that it's more affordable and no body corporate. So hopefully that will be some way of addressing the issues that we face as a city that needs to address the infrastructure shortfalls that we currently got, because infrastructure fees that we're addressing to developers have been frozen for over 11 years now, and obviously it's harder to run a city this size and address the infrastructure charges, the infrastructure requirements. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. I actually agree with the mayor. I'm pretty excited about that part of the planning scheme. I'm having computer troubles at the moment, so please bear with me. I'm going to have to restart my computer again for the second time. Can I just double check the changes for Division 1 have actually happened? 100%.
100%. So as per the previous correspondence, there's emails between you and I maybe 3 weeks ago or after the last workshop.
Yes.
So what I sent you is what we're sending to the state government in
Very
a couple of
good.
weeks' time.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I want to thank you and the team for all that you've done, for all the work you've done, all the information provided, all the questions and answers that I've been asking. But I do have more of a statement, and then I've just got one quick question right at the end. And it's mainly for the residents of Div 11, but some of it might be appropriate for acreage. People are moving out to I'd say the more opportunistic areas out where we are, because we do have a cheaper housing option out there in the PDA areas. There's access to housing, there's cheaper housing options, there's smaller blocks that keep the dream of owning a house affordable and available. Yet at the same time, the PDA areas are struggling with improved infrastructure and services that go with the community. We all know that the PDA needs to improve self-containment quicker than it's currently planned to provide jobs so that those people self-contain in the areas they live and they don't have to drive out of those areas. And then, you know, if we have 1,000 jobs, that's 1,000 cars potentially off the road out there and that sort of thing on the busy road networks. Then there's many of us that live on acreage lots and are outside of the urban footprint, but we have to drive through those acreage lots to get to part of the urban footprint in the PDA. Now, I want those people to know that I've asked many, many questions, and I'm comfortable with what's proposed in the Logan Plan 25. And whilst I agree with the majority of the Logan Plan 25, there's still bits and pieces that I'm still a bit iffy on, but I'll continue to advocate for the needs of Division 11 residents that choose to live on those acreage and rural areas, and then especially having the PDA at the back end of it. I've read in detail the Logan Plan 25, and whilst I was scared when I did read the whole 900-page document, Paul Christian copped a multitude of questions last night and that sort of thing. I was worried last night, I can tell you what, reading it. But I asked plenty of questions and I got them all clarified, so thank you for that. And that's what I can say to the residents that are out there. If you have questions on the Logan Plan 25, please just ask, especially in the acreage areas, because I was worried and that sort of thing. The only question I really have is, can you confirm when public consultation will occur? Because obviously it's after it goes to the state. Do we have a timeline of when that will occur? Because once this goes public, yes, we're going to get questions and all that, and they're going to want to provide feedback.
So we've got a proposed timeframe that we'd like to work to, but it is subject to the state's input. So we're going to provide this scheme to the state if it's supported by council in approximately 3 weeks' time. They'll do their check. They'll come back with requests for some changes. We'll put a report up to council with those changes. Then the state will come back and say, yep, that's good. You can go to public notification. So we think that that'll play out and we'll be able to start notification middle of next year, run for approximately 3 months. So July to September is what we're aiming for. Sorry, Councillor Wilcox. So you're correct in that the scheme will be available on council's website from now. So we'll be getting inquiries as you will be. So we've circulated some comms, I believe some of our media people with the planners have put some of that together, and we'll also have information on our website so that people in the 6 to 9 months that we're going to face until it's on formal consultation, that we have got material that we can have a conversation around.
Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? Excellent. I'd just like to say thank you very much to Dave, to Christian, to Sharon, to Shay, to Cheryl, who's not in the room today, and to everybody else who's done so much work on this scheme. I know that it's been a labour of love and that you've had some really tight timeframes that you've been working to, plus the feedback, the enthusiastic feedback, the motivated feedback from councillors to make sure that we address some of the concerns that were in the previous scheme, like the Mayor said, and resolve them so that we've got better designed city for the future. I also want to thank the Deputy Chairs, Councillor Miriam Stemp and Councillor Mindy Russell, for attending so many of the planning scheme board meetings where we go just make sure that the organisation is on track and that we're meeting the expectations of councillors when it comes back for briefings and workshops, which is really important. And to members of the public who want to have a look at this, as Councillor Wilcox said, this is your chance to see it. All planning is done publicly now. There's nothing sitting behind confidentiality. So you can, over the next 9 months between now and when we actually come to public consultation, members of the public can take the time to do the 900 pages of reading, 100 pages a month, easy, nice and simple, and get your questions in. You can talk to your local councillor, you can contact your chairperson, or you can wait until public consultation starts next year. I've had some people ask if consultation is meaningful after the first state review. It is, because council puts our own submission into our own planning scheme to make our own modifications, because that's how the process works legally. So if you do have suggestions, that public consultation period is the time to do it. And that means you've got plenty of time, 9 months, to understand the planning scheme, ask questions, get advice, so that you can make suggestions. I know that previously, when we've done consultation on amendments, people wanted training and insight into how planning worked, and there wasn't enough time. With this one, you've got all the time in the world to do a good, thorough assessment, get some great questions, and then have meaningful impact on what the planning scheme looks like, because this will have a 20-year rollout across our city. So it's a big deal. I want to say thank you very much to the staff again, to all the councillors for your good work, and to the Mayor who said, John, I need you to be the planning chair so we can get this delivered on time. We got the draft done. Just just in time. So thank you very much to everybody. I will put the motion that is on the screen to the floor. Would someone like to move that motion? Thank you, Mayor Power, seconded by Councillor Bradley. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. We'll now move on to item 5.2, the temporary local planning instrument number 1 for 2023. I believe that the Economic Development and City Planning Manager, Dave Radich, will speak to this report.
Through the chair. So Christian and I flipped a coin this morning to decide who was going to talk to which reports, and I'm talking to the TLPI. So just to provide a bit of background, so in 2010-2011, due to the floods, there was a commission into how planning properly mitigates flood risk hazard. So through there, the state government developed a planning scheme policy in 2017, which required a different level of risk-based planning to what we were used to. So we are required to comply with that policy. There's not an option to not comply with it. In 2018, when we submitted quite a minor draft to the state government to amend some of our flood codes, they came back and said that you have to go through the whole entire process to update your flood modelling and update your risk-based planning. So that's a big undertaking for a local government. So in 2018, the decision was that we'd leave it until the new scheme, which is now. So what we've got in front of council today is a temporary local planning instrument to bring forward some of the flood policy into the scheme. And with the recommendations that we write to the Minister, and we seek his approval to do a temporary local planning instrument. And once we receive his approval, we'll come back to council to commence that. So the decision today is to start to prepare that temporary local instrument, and then there will be a future decision to actually adopt it into the scheme. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dave. Councillor Lane has a question.
Thanks, Dave. So the proposed flooding or the mapping comes out and it says we've got to restrict planning on these particular sites. Is there capacity in this temporary instrument for caravan parks or temporary housing options? Utilising those spaces should be one of our priorities, particularly for people on wheels who can move their vehicles in the event a flood does occur. Are we looking at utilising those spaces, or is this just identifying those opportunities?
So we can identify those further opportunities when we go out to public consultation in 2024. So because we've introduced this flood hazard mapping, some uses that are residential uses are a bit more impacted, but some of the ones that you speak of are probably less impacted.
Yeah, I just know that the Grey Army is real, it's out there, and if there's opportunity for them to stop in Logan and it's beside the river, that's a great thing for us for tourism. I'd hate to see us lose that ability.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Any further questions? Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Just quickly, with the flood mapping, when you release it, will residents be able to compare what it previously looked like on their property to what it will look like now?
Through Chair, so yes, when the Minister does approve it, we'll have a portal where people can compare before and after.
Excellent. And what does a floodplain extent mean?
Through the Chair, I might get Megan to ask that question so she gets it 100% right.
Thank you. So essentially it's just our understanding of where the floodplain could extend to under the worst conceivable flood. So there's techniques to work out how to understand that, and technically it's called the probable maximum flood. Okay,
so it's not actually what has happened, but could happen in an extent.
And that is, people like to use the Armageddon flood term. That is it, really. The absolute worst case.
Is there any messaging that we can be sending insurers? Because obviously, when this is probably released, insurers will. We all know that insurers have their own extent, but then they might look at this. They might put insurance premiums up. Is there any messaging that we can really send the insurers?
So yeah, insurance is a really big concern, and I think you would have seen there was a fair bit of press in the last week about that. The cost of the recent floods has really driven those premium costs up. My understanding is that most insurers will already, because it's a statistics events-based process, they already look at the full floodplain in the same way that we're mapping it now, because they need to understand which event has a really low chance of happening, which one has a higher chance. It's complex algorithms that they apply to work out the premiums. All we can really do is our best in minimising future impact, which then costs insurers more, and that leads to premium increases.
Okay, so not really one for us, but I'm just thinking outside the square for those that are affected by the flood mapping with insurance premiums. Potentially, we could sort of go along the lines of you need to ask your insurer how they work out their flood mapping on their premiums. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, so one of the things that we'll be looking to do as part of the public consultation is invite insurance companies to attend that. So some other local governments, when they do these exercises, they get the Insurance Council and insurers to come to these events.
Any further questions, councillors? No, I've just got two then myself. So Dave, in 2018, the state government gave us advice that we had to redo our flood mapping. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the reason that we're introducing a TLPI is so that the flood mapping we've done is accurately reflected in the planning scheme.
That's right.
And the state government is the one who will approve the TLPI?
Correct. Just
checking. Just in case anybody wonders who's responsible for flood mapping in Queensland. Thanks, Dave. Are there any further questions? No, then I'll put it to the floor. There is a motion on the screen. Would someone like to move that motion? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Seconded by Councillor Lane. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been supported unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. That brings us to the end of the Economic Development and City Planning Managers reports. Does anyone have any general business for Dave? Councillor Lane and then Mayor Powell.
Thanks very much. Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Radich. The Facade Improvement Program. Wonderful program. Love it to death. A great example of what can actually be achieved in the community is on Jacaranda Avenue out front of the Rec Club. What was just a nice little park and a really average dingy, well, it's actually a dingy looking area, has been transformed as a result of that funding. I went past it last night, just on dusk, and the lights were lit up, and it looks beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The feedback from the community is that it looks lovely, and they're very happy with it. Maybe they went a little bit too far with the planting where the parking is, but nonetheless, this shows what council can do in partnership with business. And it really is quite remarkable and very well done. So congratulations to your team, and thanks for the work they put in with the business owner there and the owner of the property.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Mayor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't normally do this, but I'll do this because it's such a big occasion. I've just had a first email regarding the planning scheme. Obviously, a listener is listening. I am nearing the stage of looking to downsize. I don't want to look at a unit with the body corporate fees. I don't want to go to a retirement village either. I want to buy a freestanding, small block dwelling, easy care and not have body corporate fees. You are spot on. There we go. We've already got one winner.
Well done, Mr. Mayor. First cab off the rank. Happy customer. Dave, do you have any general business for us?
Through the chair, I do. I'd just like to thank all of the councillors, and in particular Councillor Raven, Councillor Stempen, Councillor Russell for their leadership, and Dave Hanson as the expert planner who we can always bounce our ideas off. But there's been a lot of work that's gone into this scheme, and I'd like to thank everyone in Christian's team. It really has taken an army to get this scheme to this point, and we're really happy that the leadership this council has provided to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave, and great work once again. We'll now move on to the Health, Environment and Waste Managers reports. Michael Asnikar, would you like to come? And we will discuss item 5.3, the proposed acquisition of land for environmental offset purposes in Buchan. Before I hand over to Michael, and while he comes up, I note that this is a confidential report. Do any councillors wish to move into confidential to discuss this report? No? Michael, do you want to take the report as read?
Happy to do so, Mr. Chairman. Yep.
Excellent. Then I will put the floor. Councillors, do you have any questions you want to ask outside of confidential? No? Brilliant. I'll put to the vote. Would someone like to move the motion, noting that the Divisional Councillor is supportive of this purchase? Thank you, Mayor Power. Seconded by Councillor Bradley. Was that a hand I saw? All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Good work, Michael.
Thank you. I've
Well
got my
done,
speech
Trevor.
here. The speech here ready to go.
Well done, Trevor. Excellent work. Michael, do you have any general business for us?
No, I don't.
Councillors, do you have any general business for Michael? Councillor Lane and then Councillor Murphy.
Thanks very much. Trevor, this is for you. Berrinbar East State School, a young lady at the school wanted to improve the forest, and we approached your team to actually try and make this happen. And I know that the planting hasn't gone ahead yet, but I believe your team has been liaising with Berrinbar East State School P&C to provide plants, and someone dropped off an auger to my office like I was going to dig 100 holes. But I just wanted to say thanks very much. I know that it's still to go ahead, and I believe that, Councillor Raven, you're organising a community partnership to help with the planting. This is what happens when good teamwork happens. The school's actually going to benefit from it. The children are going to love it. They're going to take ownership of it, and it's very much appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I will share that with the team.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, through the chair. Good teamwork is the key today. I just wanted to say thank you for all your work. You know how much I love curbside collection, and we've just had it through Eagleby, and we're starting today. I've just been sent a photo of the trucks starting to pick up in Beenleigh as well. And Michael, you're always available to us as a team of councillors to help out with curbside collection, and I know I've had my challenges, and I try to let you know where there's going to be a big lot of collections to happen. So I just wanted to say, if you could please pass on to the team many thanks. It is a challenging time, especially in my area, and please pass that back through. I know that you helped me the other day with an elderly couple, which was fantastic as well. So can you please pass that on to the team for us?
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the reports. Do you have any general business for the Director? Dave, do you have anything for us? No? Then the meeting is closed at 9:27. The City Infrastructure Committee meeting will begin at 9:37. Thank you, everyone.